You played with other teams, but do you think of yourself exclusively really as an Oriole?
Yeah, I mean, it's ever since I came to Baltimore in 2011, coming after two bad seasons one with Milwaukee and one with Minnesota. I felt this instant connection with Baltimore and, with the fans, with everyone. And I knew, from the start that I was hoping that I could finish my career there, and was super fortunate that I was able to play 7 years and, a fun 7 years at that. So yeah, I would say probably Baltimore and a close second with Milwaukee.
Dan Connolly.
Congratulations to both of you guys. This question more for JJ. You're the first, assuming you really are retired, you are the first of that group of 12 to 16 that have made it in there. And obviously some others are going to come. Nick just retired, Jonesy at some point, Matt, Zach. When you look back on that group, did you realize going through it how special that group was? And what are your thoughts now in retrospect?
Yeah, I mean, and that was before I signed that first extension halfway through my first year there. That's kind of what I saw, was a bunch of really good players and potential to kind of turn that team around a little bit. And that's why I wanted to stay. But it's I definitely saw a lot of great players, and part of me being here today is because of all of them. And I didn't want to name any specific names because I felt like every teammate that I played with over the last 7 years played a big part.
Next up is Steve Maleski.
Congratulations to both. JJ, I wanted to ask you how often you still get asked about the Delman Young double and scoring the go-ahead run.
I don't get asked about it as much, but I think, and I'm not on any social media or anything, but I get a lot of people that will forward me clips of that moment through Twitter or Instagram or something like that, and just be like, dude, this has got to feel crazy that I think the Orioles are still posting that stuff every once in a while. But what a great moment. I don't get asked, but I get reminded of it quite a bit.
Next up is Rich Dubroff for Mike.
Hey, Mike. When people think about you, they think about that controversial game-ending home run. How often do you get asked about that home run?
How you doing, Rich?
Good.
Yes, I do get asked a lot about that home run. It was very special. I was a rookie that year, and our team was on a roll, and our team had been doing very well playing against the Angels. And Larry Sheets came up and put us in a situation, or put me in a situation to get that game-winning hit, along with other things that happened that game. And so, yeah, it was. They say it's fair or foul. I mean, to this day, it's still fair. But it was definitely a great moment, especially for being a rookie. It's a great moment for me with the Orioles.
Are you glad there wasn't a replay challenge then?
It was fair. That's all I can say. So we're going with the technology that we had.
Next up is Bill Ladson.
Congratulations to both. My first question is to Mike Devereaux. Mike, I remember when I was living in LA, you were a big-time Dodger prospect, and then you went to the Orioles, and Frank Robinson gave you your first big break. Could you tell me what Frank Robinson means to you?
Well, Frank Robinson means, he was definitely one of my idols, and to be in LA playing for the Dodgers was a wonderful thing. And coming over to Baltimore, knowing that I was going to be managed under Frank Robinson, Hall of Famer, it was very special to me. The things that he had gone through in this game of baseball, he knew everything about the game, and he was definitely somebody I could learn about this game. And it showed through that first season we had there. And I know coming to Baltimore that the previous year, they'd lost the first 21 games of the season. And a lot of people were asking me, why are you coming to the worst team in baseball. And I always ask myself, how can this be the worst team in baseball when the season hasn't even started yet? And it came down to one of the best years the Orioles had had.
And what was your best moment in the Oriole uniform?
Best moment in the Oriole uniform. Oh, let me see. That's a tough one. The thing is, I love the fact of when Camden Yards, Oriole Park at Camden Yards was built. And I remember coming into that stadium in 1992 from coming in from Florida from spring training and sitting there and looking and being absolutely amazed by the construction of that stadium. And then realizing that, even though with Memorial Park, we'd bring in 33,000 a game, but then at Camden Yards, it's just sold out every single day. And that was just an incredible stadium. So just always a joy to come to that place and play.
JJ, I'd like to know your best moment. Thank you.
I mean, what we just spoke about, scoring that run when Delman Young's double in the postseason 2014, stands out as one for sure. I think every opening day running down that orange carpet was really cool in front of 45,000 fans screaming. I feel like there was a lot, but those two would be probably up at the top.
Next up is Nathan Ruiz for Mike.
Mike, going off what you just mentioned about seeing Camden Yards for the first time, just generally, what does this honor mean to you, and how cool will it be for you to go back in August and get honored?
Well, coming up with the Dodgers and being traded to Baltimore, I didn't know much about the actual Orioles because growing up in Wyoming, back in that day, the only baseball games we actually saw were the playoffs and the World Series. And so I really didn't know much except for the fact of Cal Ripken, of course. And then being able to go to Baltimore and being able to be a part of that organization for 7 years and what the community has shown me, and to get this honor right here is very special. I was speechless. I never saw it coming. And Orioles have always been a part of my life since playing there. And I've always been an Oriole at heart. I played with 4 other teams. And people ask me, it's always been the Orioles for me.
Next up is Brett Hollander for Mike.
Congratulations to you both. But Mike, we talked a little bit about the opening of Camden Yards. You had your best statistical year in 1992. You won MVO. Is that a coincidence? And also, after a couple of rough years for the team in 90 and 91, to have some really competitive clubs going to the new ballpark. Tell us about that.
Well, again, like I said, coming in and looking at that park and seeing the fans. I mean, it's all about the fans and seeing that they're coming in, selling that place out every single night. So knowing when you're coming to the ballpark, you're going to be playing in front of a full crowd, and that's what thrilled me the most. To be able to, going through batting practice, see the fans coming into the ballpark, and then knowing when you have that first pitch that the crowd's there, and it just thrilled me. I just enjoyed being in that situation right there. And I just love, and as far as coming back to Baltimore and going to the stadium and to be honored there, I mean, I'm anticipating that point because I just enjoy being there. Even the times that I visit, just being in that stadium, just sitting there watching the game is just incredible.
Next up is Mark Viviano with a question for both JJ and Mike.
Hey guys, congratulations to both. Mike, if you could start with this, and I'd like JJ's perspective as well. Based on what you just talked about, you're being honored for a notable career as an Oriole, playing on some great teams in front of packed crowds, both of you guys. To see a team now go through a rebuild, which is kind of a new thing from when you guys were playing, it's become more common, and the Orioles are going through it. Just your thoughts as a player, a former player, when you see that, and just your perspective on it.
Well, I mean, it's always, almost every team has to go through a rebuilding stage throughout the time of the season or of years and years. And it's always tough. It's tough as for the fans, but it's tough for the players too, to come to the park. And, all the players want to perform to the best. Everybody wants to win. But it is difficult at times, and obviously there's always got to be a workaround to try to get to the best team you can possibly have. It's hard to absolutely dominate, years and years and years and years, but there's always going to be a period of time where you have to, try to reboot and get back to basics to figure out the best way to resolve issues to become a winning ball club again.
Yeah, for me, I guess I feel a little bit responsible for it because I was fortunate enough to play in Baltimore for 7 years where it was like a win now team. And, Andy McPhail and Dan Duquette doing everything they possibly could to get the best team on the field to try and win right there. So we were trading away some prospects that have turned out to be pretty good in order to get maybe a rental player for 2 months of the season. So too bad we weren't able to take it all the way and win a World Series, but it's partly our fault for being a good competitive team for 6 years.
Up next is Dan Connolly with a question for both.
You guys got very close to the World Series. I know, Mike, you've been in one and you kind of came to the Orioles after that. What do you think it would mean to Baltimore to get into a World Series again? And how difficult was it for you guys to play here that long and get that close and not get a World Series in Baltimore?
Well, for me, 2012, going to the postseason, being one of the first wild card teams to do that, and it was a pretty special year for us with all the extra inning wins and the one-run wins that we had that year. But 2014 for sure felt like a year that we were going to do that, and just happened to run into a tough team that was hot at the time. But just seeing the way that the fans reacted in 2014 gives me an idea of what it'll be like when Baltimore turns it around and gets back into the postseason and competing for World Series, because that was by far the loudest I've ever heard any stadium get. And you can just tell how the fans can be in Baltimore when you got a good team.
For me, in '89, we were ranked the worst team of the league, and we also had the youngest team in the league. And we took it upon ourselves to play good defense, and which helped with the pitching. And we ended up within one game of the playoffs. And back then they didn't have all the wild card plays and all that, or all wild card games. So it was us in Toronto at the end of the season. We had to win 2 out of 3 in order to win the American League Championship, or American League East, I guess it was. And we ended up losing the first 2. And Baltimore threw us a parade after that. And I loved the city, loved the parade, but I was like, wow, we didn't even win. Just imagine what would have happened if we would have won. And then in '96, when we were in the playoffs, we weren't even supposed to get the wild card then. Ended up playing Cleveland and beating them. And then going up against the Yankees when that one kid with Jeffrey Meyer, I'm still not too happy about him, caught that ball against the Yankees, which, that was a very crucial game for us to win. That would have kept us rolling. It's hard to win a World Series. Everything has to go right, especially once you get the playoffs. Obviously, you have to make the playoffs, and everything has to go right. And it's tough when you lose. You work so hard all season long to get to that point, and that's why you see grown men crying when they don't win. Is because you've worked so hard to get there. And I think once Baltimore finally gets there, hopefully it's soon, the city's just going to go wild, because they're a great city for baseball, and they just can't wait for that to happen.
Up next is John Mioli for JJ.
JJ, more recently, you've been on the player side for nights like this where the Orioles have brought out Hall of Fame members and celebrated the past. It's something that the team does a really good job at, and the fans really turn out for it. What was it like being a part of that on the players' side for you? And what memories do you have of nights like this that you're not going to be on the other side of?
I remember it happening right before games, and we'd be out in the dugout and watching their speech and watching the fans, listening to the fans get pretty loud. But it's been a while. So when I was informed that this was going to happen a few days ago, I got on YouTube to see if I could see any of those moments, and saw B-Rob, and I guess it's 2019, and It is. The Orioles do it right. It's a pretty special moment, and definitely looking forward to it. And I'm gonna start working on my speech right now. Give myself about five months to practice, because that can be nerve-wracking.
And one final question from Rich Dubroff to JJ.
Hey, JJ, you were an instructor in spring training last year. Did that sort of whet your appetite for coming back to a more full-time role in baseball in the future?
Kind of. That's a tough question. I mean, I absolutely loved that week that I was out there. I had a lot of fun. And it was great. I mean, keeping my foot in the door for when that time does come is something that it goes through my mind. But right now, with my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old son, and being home for so many things that they're going through, and I'm just absolutely enjoying that a lot. So I think there will be a time for sure when I want to get back into baseball and be around a lot more. But right now, hanging out with the kids has been a good time.